Tamara Chung. I'm with the Colorado Sun. We're a new-ish news source here, so check us out. But I'm here to moderate this panel on community, and we've got some great people. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell us all about, give us something about how their company works in the community. So go ahead.
You want me to start?
Go
Hello.
ahead.
So I'm Ellen Balby. I'm the managing partner for PwC, also known as PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is an accounting firm. I moved here about 4 years ago from Minneapolis, and I have loved the Denver business community. The Denver community, it's just been a fantastic experience to see the giving that I see in the community. PwC is very active in the community, especially with financial literacy. So that's our focus, is helping others with financial literacy.
And I'm Scott DeShong. I'm the CEO of MakeAWish Colorado, so a position new to me. I started about 3 months ago after 12 years with the American Cancer Society, so community is my daily work. And I think when I knew I had a special gig at MakeAWish, when I was leaving the American Cancer Society, I had a board member from DaVita approach me and said, hey, we really hate the fact that you're leaving, but you're going to an organization that, from a DaVita standpoint, gave us one of the most impactful employee involvement opportunities that we've ever had. They got to host one of our Make-A-Wish kiddos on campus and really engage 300 or 400 of their corporate staff. And so it's been a pretty cool experience for me so far, 3 months in. The nice thing is, since I'm only 3 months in, I can just make stuff up and people will believe me, but it's been a really cool experience. So.
My name is Shannon Armbrecht. I'm with Western Union. I lead our people development and strategy team, so really lead our HR business partners across the globe. I've been with Western Union about 7.5 years, so I cannot make up what goes on there. But I think just by the nature of what we do, we're a huge global company, right? We work within 200 plus countries, and we have employees in 58 plus countries. And what we do for a living is move money for better, right? So we move money to help individuals and families and communities and education, NGOs. And so it really is a part of what we do every day. But we have never been good about saying we are in Denver and we're based in Denver. So I think in the last couple of years, you've seen us shout out about how proud we are about Denver.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lee Wheeler-Berliner, and I'm with the Colorado Workforce Development Council, or the CWDC. And the CWDC is a governor-appointed business-led coalition that works with businesses and public partners to set the strategy for talent development statewide. And through the development of innovative resources and collective partnerships, we're able to reimagine how businesses connect with employees and find their workforce, and how individuals connect with meaningful employment as well. So I come from the government perspective. I've been in the government 5 years after more than a decade in the nonprofit space, and so excited to talk with you about ways that companies can engage with government resources and partnerships to really drive positive interactions around talent development.
So in talking to you all earlier, I know that community means something different to all of you. So I'm hoping, can you, each of you, and we'll start with Lee, give us one specific example of how your organization or company works with your community? So
absolutely. So from our perspective of the CWDC, talent development has to be a industry-driven, business-led concept. And we look to our business partners, industry leaders, to be partners with us in supporting the development of talent and supporting education initiatives. And last fall, our team developed a business engagement guide, which talks about the concept of how, like the majestic Colorado blue spruce, we call on companies to stand tall in your communities. And there's two concepts that we put forth. One is how you lead at a collective table and really stand tall in your community by being a leader and bringing together other businesses to talk about issues through industry sector partnerships or through industry sector strategies. And a second component of that is to really lead by opening your doors and understanding that as a business, you have the resources that are always cutting edge, that are always top of the line, that are always what the industry demands. And there's real opportunities to partner with education entities to bring training into the workspace through internships, through apprenticeships, through different types of classroom models that can really add value and truly embrace a model of co-production of talent. And as we see the shifts in our workforce moving forward. We know what the capabilities of the K-12 system are. We understand some of the constraints of the existing ecosystem of higher education, and there's a real opportunity to ensure that all of you have the right talented workforce you need for the next 10, 15 years, that we need you at that table engaged in that conversation about talent development.
So I think with Western Union, as I said before, we move money for better, right? And that's we're lucky. In this day and age, employees want to work for a company with purpose. So what we've found is that really getting involved in our communities, tying our employees to our customers is really important. And tying our values of being globally minded, purpose-driven, trustworthy, and respectful. How do you then get involved in the community? And I think with our employees, what we find is really important to them with moving money across the globe is supporting migrant workers, supporting refugee work, and supporting education, specifically education for women, youth, children. And so I think we are very involved. We encourage our employees to be a part of helping choose where our foundation supports organizations across the globe. In Denver, some of those organizations tend to be the Denver Public Schools Foundation, MakeAWish training organization, and several different types of organizations that support youth, mothers, migrant workers, so that they can get the kind of education Lee's talking about, so that they can then go into the workforce and be successful, lift up businesses, and use those skills to enable themselves within the community.
Yeah, and I'll take it from the other side. Obviously, it's my job to make sure that we're a good partner to our corporate partners. And I'll give you the flip side of the story that I told you about our experience with DaVita. When I walked in my first day as the CEO, I said, hey, man, we must have this really good relationship with DaVita, because one of their executives said, you know, they had a really positive experience. And they said, who's that? Who's DaVita? And I said, well, we had this really positive experience. We did this event. Corey Rose from 9 News was rescued at their corporate headquarters. And they said, well, that's the last thing we did with them. That was 4 years ago. And we've tried to get back in, but the problem is we were being very transactional as an organization, right? So we weren't building relationships with the folks that we worked with that day. We didn't continue to build a relationship. So we knew exactly what that organization wanted from a partnership with us. We continue, like most nonprofits, to go in and ask. And so that's kind of the culture that I'm trying to change and when I was with the American Cancer Society, the same thing, is how do we become true partners versus transactional partners with our corporate partners in Denver or wherever we're working throughout Colorado. And I think that's an important thing that, you know, you as business leaders and as company leaders need to ask your nonprofits and be willing to build that type of relationship where you can ask them and tell them what's important to you. And, you know, we're not going to be the right fit, obviously, for every company in Colorado, but we want to be the best relational organization, so that when I hear you say you move people, or you move money, we move people. So we've got a refugee from Somalia that was just diagnosed with cancer, and he wanted to go to Mecca to pray. And so when I think of that, that's a perfect opportunity for an organization like MakeAWish and Western Union to come together to partner. But it's on us as nonprofits to know what you're looking for in a partnership, so that we can bring those opportunities to you. So.
Look at him pulling on my heartstrings here.
Yeah, I'm already feeling guilty. I'm not sure.
I've got one for you too.
Okay, good. So like Western Union, we actually tie what we're doing in the community to our mission and to our values. So PwC's mission is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And how we tie that is and our team members really want to get involved in the community. So one of the best examples I have is we have team members that go to the elementary schools, and they'll teach financial literacy. They'll teach them about money. They'll teach them about bank accounts. They'll teach them about transferring money. And the other cool thing that we just did, which was amazing to me, is we went and helped elementary students code. I don't know if any of you guys know how to code. I had no idea. Elementary students are now learning to code because of the digital upskilling world that we live in. So just a couple examples that I think are really good to give back to the community.
Great. Well, let's talk about the nonprofit side, since there was some interest there and you're looking for other companies to work with you.
Of course. I see like 500 right here. No.
You know, I mean, how does this usually happen? Do you approach companies, or do they come to you?
That's a great question.
And-
I mean, I think it varies. And once again, it's all about relationships, right? And so if I'm doing a good job as the leader of Make-A-Wish Colorado, then we've got a built-in opportunity with each company that supports us already. I think my job now is to tell our story to more people. And so because we do have, a kid can wish to do so many things. They can wish to go, they can wish to be, they can wish to have, or they can wish to meet. And now some kids are actually wishing to give something to others. So there's 5 wishes categories, and within each of those categories, there's some partnership opportunity that any company could look at. I think what we offer and what's important to companies is employee engagement opportunities. So you go back to the DaVita example, when you've got 400 corporate employees dressed up as villains or heroes for this little kid that's wanting to rescue Corey Rose. That's something that employees remember, right? So they're gonna remember that for years, and they're always gonna know that it was DaVita's support of Make-A-Wish that made that happen. And so I think it's building on those relationships, so it's not transactional. Once again, it's a relationship. And so the last part of this story with DaVita is, we. Because I do value relationships in what we do, we had the opportunity to talk to them and say, hey, what is important to you? And obviously they're in the kidney care business, and we've got a child that is going to have a kidney transplant, so they're qualified for a wish with Make-A-Wish Colorado, and so it's a good opportunity for us to do something again. So we're working on an event for this kiddo, and her wish is to have Mimu gloves, and I had no idea what Mimu gloves were. Raise your hand if you knew what they were. So there's 0 people in this place that knew where these were, right? So they're the coolest things in the world. So she signs to her mom. She's 16 years old. She has a condition that makes her really have the body of a 6 to 7 year old. She signs to her mom. She can't speak. Mimu gloves actually take sign language to speech. And so what a cool story, right? And the mom is the kidney transplant, right? She's going to donate her kidney to this child. So and so to invite a company to be a part of that is something that we can offer. And they're not doing it for the recognition or the publicity, but you can sure bet they're probably going to get some of that. And my job is to make sure we're doing a really good job of connecting those things. It's okay as a company to want those things. And if you've got a partner and you can talk about what your needs and wants are, then it makes for a really good partnership.
Just a question on that. I mean, do you end up going to the same partners all the time, or are you putting that request out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think once again, it goes back to if I've got the relationship that I want to have with our corporate partners, I'm going to know when it's okay to go to them and when they want us to come in and talk to their employees or their staff or whatever it is once a year, and then they don't want to see me for a year, right? Some companies want to see me every week. Some companies, so it goes back to that relationship and knowing what your corporate vision is, what your philanthropic vision is, and then having the ability to kind of figure out how do we make it right for you, not what's right for us as an organization, but what's right for you as a company. Where do those things match up? And sometimes it's okay to say, hey, we don't have an alignment. There's nothing we can do that fits with what you guys want to do, and it's okay. But at least we've had a conversation and tried to find that out.
Okay. I think one of the key things you said there was the engagement, right? And I'm thinking about Ellen and our organizations. Employees are most successful, and the business is most successful if your employees are happy, if they're feeling engaged, and where you can connect them to something that matters is what makes a difference. I know one of the things we had to do to really make sure we were investing in organizations that mattered to our employees was we started Woo Gives. We allow our employees to commit to who they would like us to give to, and we do a process through the foundation that allows them to submit those organizations, right, that they feel close or connected with, and then we go through a process of those organizations that have the most interest, and then put that through a committee, and that's how we make those decisions. But absolutely, if your employees are engaged, they're excited at work, they're good to your customers.
And I'm going to take questions, or try to end this 5 minutes early to take questions, so start thinking of some. So another thing that's come up is just engagement and community being, working with government. And I'm wondering, maybe Lee or Shannon, if you want to chime in. How do you guys work? Well, you're obviously with the government, but how do you work with the government, or how do you choose, to make them part of your community?
So For far too long in the state and the country, the ethos of businesses and government and partnering has long been government driven. And this mindset that there's a new government grant that requires a business to sign off, or businesses need to advise on educational curriculum. And so there's a bunch of government entities and school districts who are always making phone calls trying to recruit business partners. And in most of your communities, you all are probably those civic entrepreneurs who care, and you're getting 12 different phone calls a month from 12 different entities because everybody's trying to get business to align with the government agenda. We've flipped that script in the state of Colorado to say that government is here to support you all in your agenda. And one of the primary vehicles we utilize to do that is a concept called sector partnerships, where industry is coming together. Business leaders are at the center table setting the agenda for what that community wants to talk about, and government partners listen on the outside. And once businesses set that agenda, then government can listen and talk about opportunities. And I think what we hear in those partnerships is a whole host of things. Talent development and the talent pipeline always comes up as an issue. And when we think about opportunities for businesses to engage in talent development, it goes back to every other business decision you make, and you've heard it here already, which is start with your why. What is in it for you? What is your purpose? What are you striving to do? And so one great example, and I think this is going to pull on the heartstrings of a good chunk of the room, because we're in Colorado, so it's a safe bet that one person at every table is a Subaru owner. And so Subaru, in the state of Colorado, they know that they need a good talent pipeline. There's a lot of cars on the road, there's a lot of vehicles, those vehicles need service, and they see a long-term gap in service technicians. And so Subaru decided to partner with a local school district, and at the Cherry Creek Innovation Center, which is a brand new technical high school that's opened up down in South Denver, they have a brand new 2019 Subaru Ascent, a brand new 2019 Subaru Outback that was donated by the company because Subaru knows they need technicians. So therefore they're supplying the product that can be used to train those students, and that's going to create a good pipeline. And the fun thing about it is when people went to tour that facility, some folks from Toyota were in that shop room, they saw the brand new Subarus and thought to themselves, hey, we need technicians too. So now they're lining up donations of a few Toyota hybrids to expand the resources available to train that future workforce. So my encouragement to you all is set your agenda, identify what your issues are, think about what your purpose is, and public partners can rally around you and talk about how that fits with either advisory boards for education programs or working on workforce development boards to set priorities for your communities.
Did Subaru come to you, or did?
No, I had to go to Subaru. I had to write the check the old-fashioned way. Yeah.
Just wondering, but well, you know, I had a question for Shannon. You had told us earlier that your focus, or Western Union's focus here, is more recent in the Denver area where your headquarters is.
Well, we've been here,
Right.
but I think we haven't advertised that, right? And recently we realized that was more important to us. Because we're such a global organization, we're about 165 years old plus some, but we've actually had our headquarters here in Denver since 1995, and I bet none of you knew that. Who knew that? Oh, there's some. So we're doing a good job the last couple of years. I think because we are such a diverse organization, we never chose to just focus in one area. But it was over the last couple of years where we realized this is where we're going to keep our headquarters. This is an amazing community. And when we want to think about talent and the amazing talent that's coming into Denver, Ellen spoke a little bit about digital talent innovation as we go forward into the organization. We're very focused on moving money digitally. How do we really look at getting that talent? Well, we have to be involved in the community. We have to be involved in what matters to the community. And so we actually worked with the mayor and several NGOs and lots of partnerships and organizations. And in the last couple of years, we've invested a significant amount of money into organizations that help us both get our name out there, but also that we are helping educate women, children, and youth to make sure that we have the talent pipelines that we need across the community. But you've probably seen us, we moved our building into Denver from Englewood most recently. We've also begun sponsoring organizations like the Rapids and the Nuggets. But it's been fun to be more in the community because some things have happened because of that. Knowing we're here, you know, there's more international flights now. That's something that's important to us because we're constantly traveling across the globe. So.
Well, when you guys were deciding, you know, to focus a little or to expand your focus
Yep.
here in your headquarter city, how did you decide, you know, women, children, were there other topics that you had to weigh?
I think
and
it's so, when we really talk about back to those values, right? What's important to our employees, when we poll our employees, and when we look at our employees and our customer base, they're very similar, right? What we found were values for those employees were making sure that we looked a lot like our customers, and the majority of our customers that are moving money, 62% of our customers are women. Did you know that 270 million people live outside of their country of origin or their country of birth? And so being able to connect to those people and connect to those people in Denver was really important to us. And so we looked at how do we get involved in the community that way, supporting women, children, and people that were close to our employees and close to our customers.
Okay. I had a question for Ellen.
Yes.
So financial literacy makes a lot of sense for PwC. Has that always been sort of your outside of the business focus for PwC, or has that changed? And how do you guys decide when something's stale and you need to rethink?
So I would say it's probably been a focus in the last 10 years, but it's also been an evolution. So we also have our employees and our team members vote on organizations they want to be involved with. And we have the financial literacy focus, but we also are involved with United Way, Habitat for Humanity, hopefully MakeAWish after today. Junior achievement is a natural, but we really ask, where should we be involved with? Mentoring is really important to us, so Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Girls Inc. is also something that we've seen kind of evolve from the financial literacy into more focus of where we can make a difference. And we all know our employees and our team members, they want to be involved. They want to make a difference. They want to feel purpose and passion in what they're involved with. So that really has driven us to make changes as we evolve throughout the community.
So this is probably going to be focused for a while then?
I believe, now I'll also tell you, financial literacy is moving into the digital upskilling, so I mentioned that. And you may say, what's similar between financial literacy and digital upskilling? There is kind of that business community or that skill set that's needed, just like what you were mentioning with Subarus. That is what we see as the future of technology, financial literacy. So it is an evolution of what we're seeing in the market.
So this is more for the corporate people on the panel. What about return? How important is that return on investment or financial return? Or I know you mentioned getting your name out in the community was important, but do you judge that on when you look at your efforts in the community?
Yeah, I do think it's more about a little bit what I said before, right? It's more about the employees and the employees being engaged at work, right? If you are aligned to the values of your organization and you're aligned to the purpose of your organization, and they give you opportunities to do what you already love at work, that makes a big difference, right? And engaged employees make a difference for our customers, and that's the return on investment. I think that's hard to measure, but we've absolutely found that that when our employees are engaged in work that they love, that our return on investment is higher, absolutely. And you retain employees longer, and it's a war on talent out there, so that's important.
And believe it or not, it might be the one thing that we don't measure the ROI on. So I'll just tell you, at an accounting firm, we measure everything. It is the one thing that we don't say, oh, what's our return on investment with this involvement in an organization? Because it's so important that the employees and the team members feel like they're giving back, feel like they have that purpose. That's enough ROI for us as an organization. The other thing I'll say is we would rather have folks volunteering and giving back, and we give people a certain amount of hours that they can volunteer however they want in their, they can pick their passion as well. So we just think that that's part of being a really good provider to everyone.
And we do the same thing, but what we've found is our employees, they get a day or so to volunteer on their own. We have managers that take entire teams and they go take their volunteer day and they do a team building event, right? And just that opportunity to do something they're all engaged in and they decide together in the community makes a difference.
It's almost like I understand engaging your employees and the volunteer aspect. Is community always about that? Or is there other communities you guys are involved in, maybe a business community where you do, expect some sort of return because you need, otherwise you wouldn't continue having certain events or meetings?
I mean, I can talk about it just from some of the conversations I've had with corporate partners, and I think there are those that are out there that do weigh that and look at what a return on investment looks like from an impression standpoint, and that's okay. Like I said, that's okay to measure those things, and if you've got a good partner, then you're talking about that kind of stuff. We had a Wish kid, I don't know if you guys saw this on the news, but wanted to be a garbage man. So this was right before I started. So he wanted to be a garbage man, right? And so Alpine Recycling, which is a local company, had just rebranded as GFL, a Green for Life recycling company, right? So all we asked of them, and they were happy to do it, was to supply a brand new truck because the kiddo could not be around dirty garbage, right? So they supplied us with a brand new truck, and then they put their brand new receptacles at Empower Field at Mile High, at the Ritz, at a fire station. So this kiddo got to go all over Denver picking up trash. And the reason he wanted to do that is because he had to be inside a lot because he couldn't be out in. He had an immune system that was compromised, and so when he was inside, all he had interaction with was the garbage men that would pick up his garbage on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and so he just started watching videos about it. So it's just a really cool story. But I think the coolest thing is, every news station picked that up. I was out in LA right after it happened, and LA Live picked it up as a story. And so just because of one goodwill, letting us use a couple of one garbage truck and some canisters, they had to receive probably $250,000 to $500,000 worth of free goodwill advertising. And I think those are the stories that, as a nonprofit partner, we want to tell because there are opportunities like that. And it is okay to ask about those things and want those things from your nonprofit partner. Not every wish that we do is going to blow up and make it to LA Live, but there are opportunities to partner on those kinds of things.
So I would say besides the PR, which is kind of a natural, the other thing that we get is actually networking in the business community. So we do a lot with other businesses. We do a lot just to get to know the business community and get to know whether it's students, educators, and I think that's an added benefit to your point of what else do you get besides the team members feeling good. It's really meeting people in the community, meeting government folks, understanding what really drives the Denver community, and I think that's a natural output as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about, how do you expand your network, and how do you give these folks suggestions on how to reach out to their own networks? I mean, do you have anything else to add? Those were good examples.
Well, I would just say this, and I'm new to the Denver community, there are so many things here. I was just amazed at all the different organizations. And I can honestly say, if you feel passionate about something, there's an organization out there for you. All you have to do is take a look and really just Google, and I was just amazed how many different organizations, how much focus there is on giving back. And again, I came from Minneapolis that I thought was top notch. I would put Denver above that from a giving standpoint.
And Tamara, I would add, the unique place that we hold within government is that we do have the ability to sponsor other organizations as well and sponsor some events. And so our lens is really what is advancing our shared values and advancing our shared objectives. So we believe in supporting the development of talent, the development of job opportunities, and supporting the economy. So we have a long-standing partnership with Colorado Companies to Watch, which is a nonprofit organization focused on accelerating second stage companies in the state of Colorado. That's been an 11-year partnership for us. We partner with the Colorado Technology Association, sponsoring their awards events to help recognize talent and recognize those other entities that have aligned interests to ours. And so that's part of our lens to say, what else can we go to expand? It does raise awareness of the work that we do and helps elevate the knowledge that government can be here as a supportive partner.
Yeah. But it sounds like, there's so many great examples that you've given, but dare I ask if there's been any examples that didn't go so well, or things you have tried and decided that didn't quite work for us or might not work for other people? Any lessons learned?
Government never makes mistakes. We're good.
I think one of the things that we've learned is you do need it citizen-led. So we used to have kind of top down. We used to make the decision of we'd have one day that we would give back to the community, and we would pick the organization. We'd have United Way help us a little bit, but we would tell people, okay, this is our day, this is what we're doing. And we found that it's actually much more impactful to let people make that decision, to give them hours to give back to what they are passionate about. And I would say that's one of the lessons we've learned.
You mean give the community partner?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Anyone else?
I would just say I go back to the transactional versus relationships. Anytime that we've had a very transactional relationship with a company, we know that it's going to be short-lived. It's not going to be a long-term partnership that we can build on, and it's nice to have those partnerships that just kind of start off with a toe in the water and finding out about our organization and doing maybe something with us that then grow to our biggest partners. And so it really is all about relationships. It's no different than any other organization, company, for-profit, nonprofit. The only difference is our shareholders are kids, right? But it's the same thing. We are a for-profit business. It's just different shareholders.
Yeah.
It's all built on relationships.
Okay. Well, what about, community? We've been talking about a lot of what's happening locally. I mean, and I think, Lee, you mentioned you're statewide. I mean, do any of your programs go statewide as well, or is it focused on Denver?
I can take that one.
Oh.
MakeAWish, Colorado, right? We help kids from Durango to Sterling, Wyoming border to the southern border. So it's just, and that's actually something that we really need to do a better job of, right? So we are Denver-centric in that we raise a majority of our funds in Denver, but a lot of our wishes happen in Colorado Springs, northern Colorado, and so the mountains. So VF Corp, you're out there, I know that. We've got opportunities for you too, because a lot of kids want to go to the mountains. They want to experience Colorado snow. We have a wish right now of a kid coming from Texas that wants to build their first snowman, I think. And so there are so many stories that we can tell together as companies, but it all just starts with you guys knowing what we're up to.
Okay. The other thing I know is some of your companies have been here for a while, and Shannon, you sort of addressed this, how you've kind of, changed focus over time. But how do you decide when you need to relook at a program? Or are you guys all constantly evaluating, after a wish is granted or after a financial literacy class is taught? I mean, is this something that must be done? Reevaluation?
I think it's incredibly important because as the evolution of the needs of the business community change, and as your team members' passions change, I think they need to be aligned. So you can have an overall objective, but I do think we do it every year. We analyze what we've been involved with, and then we say, are there other organizations, perhaps new organizations we've not been involved with that we feel that our team members really want to get involved with? So we actually look at it every year and reevaluate, and we do change every year. We've got a new organization. I would say since I've been here 4 years, we've had new organizations every year that we've added.
Oh, does that mean there's some you drop?
Maybe. But Make-A-Wish is not one that we.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was just thinking, I think when you talk about new companies, I think it would be interesting to look at when new companies come into Denver. I think that's always the most difficult thing for a nonprofit, because you don't want to be the guy that's picking up the phone like the second day in town, and saying, hey, we really want to partner. So it's trying to figure out, once again, how you use an existing relationship. And I would use that on both the for-profit and the nonprofit side. I think when you as companies are looking for new partners, go to your existing partners and find out who else in the community is doing really great work. I've made it a priority to be a good partner with other nonprofits, because I think in so many ways we fight each other a lot of times. And I think companies want to see organizations that work together. And Global Down Syndrome, based here in Denver, has been a huge partner for ours for a long time. They actually fund every wish for Down syndrome kiddos in the state of Colorado, which is really cool, and they've been doing that for a long time. So you think about two nonprofits that come together to do good work. I would always start and have a conversation with your current partners to say, who else do you work with? Who else is doing really good work? And start there.
Yeah, same as Ellen, we look at this every year, but we look at this every year because our employees might know a better organization that aligns to our values, right? And so we give that opportunity for Woo Gives every year. But then there are also partnerships that we know work with what we're doing. Denver Public Schools Foundation, Junior Achievement, right? These are some that we've had longer term because we can see the ROI on that and the investment back in the community. And I think it's something, you wouldn't be in business if you weren't evaluating that on a regular basis.
Okay. And Lee, I know the work environment hasn't changed very much where unemployment's really low still. I mean, how long have you been with Colorado Workforce?
Yeah, so I've been with the agencies for 5 years. And
Okay.
so as what we've seen over that time is that as the labor market gets tighter and tighter, companies are saying, well, where's my next employee coming from? It's created a really interesting opportunity for businesses to look at untapped pools of talent. And so for companies who have not hired individuals with disabilities in the past, that's an untapped pool of talent that is highly qualified to do a lot of the jobs you may have. And there's resources that can help people understand that the word accommodation is not a dirty word and it's not an expensive word, and it can encompass a whole host of things. And so really this employment environment has opened up a lot of different trains of thought. There was a bill that was around banning the box that went through the legislation last year, which was, it states that you can't ask if you've committed a felony at the initial phase. You can still run background checks on employees, but you're not asking that up front. We're seeing a whole host of new programs in partnership with the Department of Corrections that can help individuals who are coming out of that system find their employment path. And the only way we tackle a recidivism rate that is far too high nationwide is by ensuring that people are actually gaining skills and are able to exit the justice system and that facility on a path to employment. And so there's companies, if you're looking for talent and you're within 30 to 60 miles of a correctional facility, people who are within a year of release can actually go to work for you as an employee. The DOC will provide that transportation to and from the job site every day, and then ideally they're going to stay with you as an employee when they are released at that point in time. So really this job environment has created a dialogue and a chance to encourage companies to think differently around who you're hiring, how we can help you find additional sources of talent. It's also opened up a big conversation on work-based learning and the concept of apprenticeships. In the United States, the idea of an apprenticeship has really been tied to the traditional trades and blue-collar jobs. And in this environment, there are modern apprenticeships in the financial sector. Companies like Pinnacle Assurance, I heard them referenced in one of the last sessions, they have more youth apprentices than any other company in the state right now. And we're seeing high school students who are being productive on the job, people who are college-bound and are doing that to understand how they want to focus their studies in college, and also kids who don't want to go into higher education, getting skills to come out and earn $50,000 and $60,000 a year straight out of high school. So those are some of the ways we've been able to really drive some of that conversation in the midst of a tight employment environment.
Great. We only have a few minutes left, but does anyone here have a question you want to ask the panel? Right there. Was there a mic?
So our foundation is separate. It's a separate organization, but it's been something that has been extremely important to us. And so we have to obviously have a completely separate entity that just works with us, alongside us is how I would explain it. But it's something that's been so important to us. Again, back to the values of what we do. If we're not investing back into the communities and organizations globally, we're not making an impact. And we have to be making an impact. So that's something we've valued for a long time.
Was there anyone else? Well, maybe we can just end this with a quick suggestion for the audience. Like, what would you recommend, a company that's looking for more community partnerships from your perspective, government?
So don't just give advice and let yourself be let out of a room. Oftentimes, education especially will say, hey, we need business input on our curriculum. And don't just give advice and be content for them to say, okay, great, we'll follow up with you later on. Stay engaged, stay at that table, make them keep you at that table to continue to give advice and open up your doors to allow people to come in and utilize your workplaces as an education environment.
Shannon, anything? 20 seconds.
I actually would go back to what she just asked. Our CEO always had the passion to say it's important enough to have another company that gives back, even though we're for profit, right? And so make sure you're in your communities pushing what you're passionate about.
And I just follow up on what Lee was talking about with poaching employees. I know we've got a lot of HR folks in the room today, so just let you know there's a special place in hell for anybody who steals an employee from Make-A-Wish, Colorado, okay?
How do I follow that? I was going to say, allow your employees to show their passion. And the other thing is to have fun with this, to make this something that people want to get involved with, that they see the excitement, and really have it be something that they say, yes, we want to be involved and we want to give back.
Great. Well, thanks everyone. Give them a round of applause.